On Monday, February 21st, we made our way to Middlesex Cemetery in Middletown, Connecticut for our biggest job of the year. Cut down and remove dozens of dead, hazardous trees on the property. First things first was to get the truck set up for the first few hours of the day. There were a few trees along the edge that needed to go immediately for this to happen. The guys had a strategic plan of where they wanted to start and finish the day. Today we are getting some help from Able Tree Care, one of Derek's friends who is also in the tree business. They have a crane that we will be using today, along with a skid steer with a mulching attachment on the front to grind up whatever debris may be left after the tree is cut. As you can see, this is a pretty powerful machine. As Derek and Willie were cleaning up the right side edge of the property where the trucks were, Josh and Eric started rigging lines in the center of the cemetery. You may or may not have seen the intro to the video that we did about this cemetery. All of the trees that we are cutting down are extremely dead. They are fragile and very brittle. Rigging these trees up alone is a very tough task. Put the chains in the wrong spot and they could break and go spinning out of control on the way down to the ground. Even though it's very little, you can see a lot of the debris falling off the trees as they get cut. If one of these branches takes a good blow from another branch, it will easily snap in half. Now that Josh was ready, it was time to start climbing some trees in the middle of this cemetery. Slowly but surely, and branch by branch, he makes sure he can get up the tree safely. You can see just how brittle some of these branches are as Josh rigs up the line and it's shaking all over. As usual, Willie is on the receiving end of the branches coming down to be chipped. He cuts up these trees into the proper size and gets them ready to go into the chipper. There's not too many guys that can do this job as efficient as Willie does. On this FPV shot right here, you can see how many dead trees surround this cemetery. They're everywhere. As Willie starts to throw these branches into the chipper, you can see just how much is falling off of them. Because these branches are so dead, the truck does not fill up with wood chips as fast. A lot of them just turn into a fine dust. We made great time this morning and the right side entrance of the cemetery is clean. It's now time for a few guys to head towards the back of the cemetery and cut down some of the trees around the border. Look at this monster Josh is cutting down right now. With a line in it and a pull from the dingo, this monster goes down like nothing. It's time to reassemble the trucks and get ready for a couple guys to work again in the middle of the cemetery. Check out this tree Derek is cutting through right now. Even though our chainsaws are sharp, you should not be able to cut through a tree this fast. This tree is dead and dry as a bone. Listen to it, when it hits the ground and it crunches, you can just hear the branches breaking, and also look at the hole in the middle of it. In case you missed it the first time, listen to these branches crunch again. Just a few simple cuts to this dead tree and it is no longer a hazard to anyone visiting the cemetery. Now let's check in on the border of this cemetery. All hands on deck cutting down these trees and mulching up the debris with a skid steer. You can see that the cemetery has a rock wall border around it, which we do not want to disturb. Check out this stump that is being moved. We are actually going to place this stump on the opposite side of the rock wall from where the tree is, so that Derek can cut the tree and it can intentionally land on the stump and not the rock wall. As being somebody who was just watching and observing this, it was pretty awesome. But for Derek, who actually cut it, it was even better. Just as planned. We were extremely happy with what we got done during the first day of work here. The idea was to get all of the trees down around the border today and the smaller trees inside the cemetery that Able Tree Care's crane could lift. And speaking of cranes, tomorrow, a quick pick out of Derby, Connecticut is going to be bringing one of the biggest cranes they have to help us remove some of the other trees. As you can see here, this crane is no joke. Check back in with us in a couple days as we release day 2 of our cemetery cleanup. Don't forget, please like and subscribe and follow us on all social media platforms. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, we even have a TikTok now.